So I thought that, okay, let's think of a brand that can go here, right? Like, how do you create a brand on group and premium? Because that's the quick, obvious way to go from a transaction value of 200 to maybe a transaction value of 500. Because Domino's transaction value on delivery was 600 rupees. So I said, yeah, a lot of money to be made, right? So how do you make a premium brand? And unfortunately, I had sort of, 2016 was a little funding winter. We had decent money, but we didn't have a lot to experiment and put 20 crores behind a brand creation. So I got that role where they said, okay, why don't you create a brand? Again, good concept. तुम board meeting में बोलते तो अच्छा हो कि ये कर लेते हैं, अब करके दिखाओ. And very short leash, 6 months and 1 crore or 2 crores is essentially what I got. And they said, create a brand. How do you create a brand in 2 crores? And that's where I learned most about marketing, because that was a time where I had nothing else to do. Think like an entrepreneur and say, I only have 2 crores. How do you create a brand? And how do you create a premium brand that people would order in groups, right? Domino's had taken that positioning quite some time. And we realized that, there is no pan-India biryani brand. So why don't we think of a biryani brand? And then chef started creating few menu items, and I said, बहुत बढ़िया लग रहा है. But मज़ा नहीं आ रहा है. Like, biryani तो लोग single भी खाते हैं. Why would you order where is the premiumness in that? And that's where I realized that every business creation needs a CEO, every business creation needs a visionary who has to tell the product manager, the marketing manager, the packaging guy, the procurement guy, what does the brand stand for? Because without that, everybody is just lost, right? They're just trying to solve, ठीक है, biryani aluminum foil में अच्छी लग रही है. Everyone said अच्छी लग रही है. I said, but there's no premiumness. Aluminum foils does not give a premium feeling. I said, what do you want then? I said, just make it premium, right? Can the spoon be made more premium? And all of those are still very vague things. And that's where I realized that you need a brand story. Everyone needs a story to sort of, as a central hook, to understand what the brand stands for. So that's what we did. We created a story. So I went out, in fact, it was a very interesting conversation. Our design head at that point of time, he's now a senior design guy at Flipkart called Supriyo. He came up with the idea and said, because we were Game of Thrones, LOTR fans, it's not that all of us have inbred marketing, sometimes we just pull things out of the hat. He said, why don't we create a fictitious kingdom? I said, great idea. It's just that I went a little overboard with it, and we actually fleshed it out. I asked one of my friends who was a novelist to write out an actual story of the kingdom of Behrouz. And at that point of time, people thought that you're just going overboard. Like, every website you go, they'll say 50% off, product ke photos honge, right? You know what you're selling. What do you think we are selling here? There's no biryani photo, right? We are saying discover. What is discover? People say shop now, right? So, call to action kaisa lag raha hai? He'll say, yaar, dhanda chahiye. Shop now button dalo, right? That's what people do. And unfortunately, I was doing the same thing. I had to unlearn all of that and say a brand is not about selling. A brand is about welcoming people and telling an emotional connect, telling a story to people and say, why does the brand exist? And therefore, you should have the guts to say that we will not sell anything when you're creating a brand. So we went aboard and just said, okay, we'll not actually have a biryani photo. And we actually went about writing a story. For the first 2 months, we just wrote stories. And we put on Instagram that what is the story of Behrouz. So much so that we had to later write something at the bottom saying this is a work of fiction, because 90% people thought this is a real story. My investors told me that, boss, you'll end up in legal trouble. Please write something down there. But that's how the brand became a brand. People never said, have you tried Behrouz? People said, have you heard about the story of Behrouz? The recipe of rice that was from Behrouz was incidental. Of course, that also tastes good. But now the chef also had the idea that what does this brand stand for? So when I said, make it more premium, he said, sir, premium to खाने में dry fruits ही होते हैं. डाल दूँ मैं? I said, यार डाल दो ना, Behrouz की बिरयानी है. किसने बोला बिरयानी में dry fruit नहीं आता है? It is Behrouz की बिरयानी. लखनवी बिरयानी, हैदराबादी बिरयानी, उनका अपना taste है. This is Behrouz biryani. You should stand for something. It is premium. The kings of Behrouz had dry fruits in their this recipe of rice. This is what we'll serve.